Right, so I've seen this lovely automatic Audi A3 coming into the auction and I quite fancy buying it. It's a one owner car, ULEZ, very good service history, so let's give it a go with the bidding.
Summary for the car, 9 services all main dealer, one owner car. We should all be having a go then. We should all be having a go. Hey, to remember the big bid, find another. One owner from new, 54 plate, 9 stamps all main dealer, 69,000 miles automatic. 1.6, 12 of the man bid, 12 of the man bid, 50 bid, 12 of the bid now, 30 bid, 50 bid, 13 50 bid, 13 50 bid, 14, 14 bid, 50 bid, 14 bid, 15 of the man bid, 15 bid, 15 bid, 15, 15 of the man bid, 15 bid, 15 bid, 15 bid, now the one twice, hold it on, 16 bid, 16 bid, 16, and 16 bid, now the bid, 16 bid, 16 bid, 16 bid, 16 bid, going on.
Lovely stuff, just won the car. Ignore the cap price, there's still a good profit to be made in this car, but we'll get into all of those later on. But for now, it's a 200-mile trip, so let's head on down there and pick up this Audi A3. Guys, before we get into it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you do want to keep seeing more content like this. But without further ado, let me give you a walk around of this Audi A3, which I've just picked up from BCA Brighouse. Quite a bit of a journey actually to come pick this car up. It's about 200 miles away. Literally just won this car yesterday on the online auction, and I was so keen to come pick this car up because it is a one owner, low mileage, and it looked like it was in pretty good condition, apart from one little thing on the wing, which I'll show you in a second. But you can see just from looking at the exterior, it is a pretty good example of a car which is 20 years old now. But you're going to expect this car to be in good condition, being a one-owner car. Bar a couple of things, like we've got a little dent on the rear quarter over there, and as I mentioned, the front wing has seen better days. So dented over there, and then going onto the front bumper, there's a scrape, which part of which I think we could probably flatten down and polish up potentially, but that's something to sort out later on. Coming around the front of the car, it's all looking pretty good, bar a few little marks, but nothing out of the ordinary for something of this age. Lovely looking car, nice colour. We've even got a sunroof as well going into the summer season, so little things like that should make a difference when it comes to selling the car. Another good point I liked about this car as well was the paperwork that this car came with. Full main dealer Audi service history. Another thing to point out about this car is the tyres. So the tyres are in relatively good condition, however they are Continental tyres. Now that says a lot about a car when it's 20 years old, but the owner is still putting on premium branded tyres. So little clues like that tell you this will potentially be a good car. But we've got a lot of things to talk about on this one. I still need to show you the interior, and then when we go for a drive, we'll talk about the paperwork, which is another key thing of why I bought this specific car. Let me show you the interior. Now, someone has gone to town speccing this car up when it was new, which is something I really liked about this car. Leather seats in an old Audi A3 is not something which you see very often. As well as that, the sunroof over there, very, very rare option. Not something which people did tend to spec on these types of cars back in those days. Generally speaking, it does need a little bit of a valet down there, but the actual wear and tear on the leather is as you'd expect. It's done pretty well over those years, looking at the front two seats, as you can see. Bolster is very, very common for them to start to wear because these bolsters are quite chunky for, you know, a car like this. So when you are getting in and out of the car, you are going to be brushing that a lot. So not something which I'm concerned about at all. A little bit of sagging on that seat, but it is completely within normal parameters of something you'd expect on this age. Carpet down there is looking very, very clean. The fact that it's so clean down there tells me that this car predominantly has been just used by the driver and not many passengers. But even looking down at the center console, all the buttons don't have any wear on them at all. Now on Audis, it's very, very common, such as these buttons here, which get used a lot. You'll get a lot of wear to them. Not that it really matters, but it just goes to show you the type of quality and the care that the person has taken on this car. The rears are looking pretty good as well. You can see they are in very, very good condition for the age of the car. Carpet is immaculate. I don't even know if this car's actually going to need a deep valet at all. I know we had a little bit of a mess on the front driver's floor well, but the rest of the car is looking pretty good. I think just a basic in and out, wiping down the leather might do a good job, but you get an idea of how this car is looking. I have left the engine running this whole time because it is absolutely super quiet. One of the things which I love about these 1.6 engines made from Audi and VW. Low mileage car, 69,000, automatic gearbox. On a hot day like today, the air conditioning is working as well. So far, things are looking great. Now I know you're going to be thinking, that doesn't look like such a clean engine bay. Well, in all honesty, I quite like when I see a car like this because it's an honest car. What that means to me is I can see now if there are any leaks, any oil seepages or anything out of the ordinary, because the car's dirty, the car's dusty. This is 20 years worth of, just dust and grime that has gone over the car because, your typical person doesn't really clean an engine bay on the car. I'm quite happy with that. You can see looking around down there, I don't know if the camera's really going to pick it up, everything is looking bone dry, which is always a positive thing to see on an older car. Oil is good, I've already just checked that. Coolant is exactly where it's meant to be. So things are looking good so far. I've left the engine bay running on purpose so you can see how quiet this car is because it is absolutely fantastic. But let's jump in, let's take for a drive now, and let's see how the automatic gearbox is doing, because that is something which is giving me a little bit of nightmares at the moment, because I don't know yet if there is any problems with that. But let's jump in, let's take for a drive, and let's see how we get on. Right, let's get going. Fingers crossed we've not got any issues with this gearbox, because they are quite commonly known to have problems, VW Audis and Skodas. They're all the same group anyway, and they share a lot of the same parts. So a little bit of a concern when I'm buying an automatic type of car like this from auction, but from pulling away now, we're probably in third gear, 20 miles an hour. Car is pulling fine. I don't want to give it a kick down just yet. I'd rather let the car ease in because I don't know how long it's been sat around for. So far, gearbox seems okay. 30 miles an hour, probably in fourth or fifth gear. So far, we seem okay. But anyway, how's this car driving on first impressions? Honestly, it drives so nice. Audis from this era drove so good. They were so comfortable. The steering was so light, and it's just a well-built car in my opinion, because we're 20 years on now and I don't feel at all like I'm driving something of this age. I know that is something I do tend to say a lot, but see, I do buy good quality types of cars and cars that have been looked after. Not always, as I'm sure a lot of you will probably mention in my comments that I do buy a lot of junk as well. But the cars that I buy that are junk are things where I can see value to be added. Cars like this where I've paid top money for, I expect them to be of high quality. And that's what this car is so far. Suspension's great, the seat's very comfortable, steering is nice, the brakes as well, they feel good. You can tell this has been a well-maintained and looked after type of car. I actually used to have one of these cars a long time ago, so I know exactly how these cars should be driving. Mine was a manual and it was a 2-litre FSI rather than this 1.6, but there or thereabouts, it's the same car, same era. So I like to think I know a lot about these types of cars. Even just now, we've came to a standstill and I'm pulling away. There was no jerkiness from the gearbox. It's pulling away very nicely. What an idiot. The light was green and he just stopped like a twat. Now, a lot of these points I'm talking about link into one of the reasons why I specifically bought this car. Now, the car came with 9 services, all carried out from Audi main dealer. Now, I know 9 services might not sound like a great deal for a car which is 20 years, but Audi do something which is called long life servicing. Who am I to say what is right and what is wrong? These are companies that invest, millions or billions or whatever into their R&D. So they service cars every 2 years. So going by that, 9 services is there or thereabouts a full service history. However, it did say that the last service was carried out in 2019, which I was a bit surprised about. I was thinking it's a one-owner car, it's got full main dealer history. Why would they have stopped in 2019? So my gut told me the car probably has been serviced after, and just a lot of the times this happens when you do buy cars from BCA. Things do work in your favor sometimes. So there was paperwork in the car, a lot of paperwork. There was a service book and paperwork which I got from the auction. Obviously it was in the plastic packet. Just from looking around the car in the glove box, I saw that there was a lot of paperwork in there, and the service papers in the car go up to 2023, all from Audi main dealer, and there was a stack of it. I haven't had a chance to go through everything in detail because I am 200 miles away from home. I do want to just get this car back and make sure it's okay and get home. So when I get back, I will go through all the paperwork and of course keep you guys updated into everything about this car. But it just gives you an overview of why I bought this specific car, the reasons behind it, the one owner, the low mileage, the automatic gearbox, backed by a full Audi main dealer service history, which gave me the confidence in buying this specific car. It's always a risk, but at the same time, there's a bit of peace of mind. So what do I need to get done to this car exactly to get it ready for sale? Because we've had a look around the car now, we've spoken about a couple of things which aren't perfect. So what do we need to do? First thing I need to get done, I need to look at seeing if I can get that wing replaced. It's going to cost a lot of money if I was to just repair it, What I would rather do is see if I can find a wing in the same colour. It might not be a perfect colour match, but it'll be there or thereabouts. It is an older car now, and try and get that replaced. If I can't get it replaced and it's going to cost me too much to get that fixed, I will obviously reflect that in the price, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Next thing I'm going to look at doing is getting the car MOT'd as well. So it's not due until end of September, but obviously the type of car this is, the value I'm going to be pricing this at as well, I think I'd like to put 12 months on this car. And of course, it's just a peace of mind for the next customer when I sell this car on, that, you know, they're buying something which is good. There aren't going to be any major issues with this car. So for the small price it's going to cost me, probably look to get that done. Now, going through the service papers, again, like I said, I need to go through those in detail to find out when exactly this car was or wasn't last serviced. So if it does need to get serviced, I will get this car serviced accordingly. If it doesn't need servicing, then it doesn't need servicing. One of the things which I do need to actually look at is when the cam belt was changed on this car. Something you got to think about, these 1.6 engines, they actually do two variants. It's really bizarre, but they do a 1.6 FSI and a 1.6 Special Edition. They are literally the same engine. The performance between them is like 10 brake horsepower, but one of them is chain driven and this car is cam belt driven. And not a lot of people know that. A lot of people do mistakenly think that they're all chain driven. It's not the case. So I'll need to investigate and see if this car's cam belt has been replaced. Because it's gone to the dealer, probably most likely has been replaced. It's very unlikely that it hasn't, but still need to get that checked to find out if it has been done, because if it hasn't, at this age and this mileage, I'm pretty sure it would need to be done now. Well, of course it would need to be done. We're 20 years old, of course it would have to be done. I'm sure it's been done, but we'll find out later on once we get back. Now, in terms of getting the car cleaned, I probably will give it to the valeters just to give it a once over. Probably not a full valet, just let them know to work on the driver's carpet floor, give the seats a nice little clean, because there are some marks I've just noticed on the passenger front side as well. It isn't something which is going to cost a lot of money, but it'll make a difference when we come to sell this car. Now, other than that, there isn't really anything off the top of my head that I can think which needs to get done to this car. And that's a good thing. You know, buying a car from the auction and not having to spend crazy money on it is a good thing. You don't want to be buying a car and having to fork out a lot of money, because it happens sometimes, and when it does, it eats into your margin very quickly. And especially if you're new into the trade and, you know, it's your first few buying and selling cars, it does demotivate you when these things happen. So I always say you've got to be really careful with your buying. And I know I took a little bit of a risk with buying an automatic, you know, Audi gearbox from the auction, but like I did say, based on the fact that it's got a full service history from main dealer, it's a one owner car with sensible mileage, it suggested I'm probably going to be all right. And the vendor it came through, by the way, was a part exchange. It wasn't like it went to We Buy Any Car. It went to, I think it was Stratstone Jardine or something like that. So, you know, they just sold it because they would have bought another car. So it gave me that peace of mind, and that's why I went for this car. But hopefully that gives you an idea on the current condition of this car, where we stand, how this car is driving. In the next video, we're going to look at getting all those things rectified that we spoke about and show you the process, along with comparing how this car is in its current state to once we've got it retail ready. And of course, as always, we're going to go through those figures and talk about the numbers, the amount this car has cost to get it to the point from picking it up from the auction, getting it back home, prepping it, fixing if anything needs to be done, if things need to be replaced, getting those done, and talking about those specific prices and giving you an idea of the margins in these types of cars, because they are old, but they still have good value and they still have good profit in these types of cars as well. So we're going to get into those in the next video next week. So on that note, guys, I'm going to end this one here. I'm going to grab some lunch, head home, long drive back, and then fingers crossed we can get working on this car tomorrow. So once again, I hope you've enjoyed this video, guys. Thank you so much again for watching, and as always, don't forget to like, share and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'm going to see you on the next one. Take care, guys.